Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. And thank you, Mark. This is actually the first time I'm joining a meditation. So really excited to be part of the community. And it feels like a breath of relief for me as well. I'm based right now in New York. My name is Cat Korren. Normally, I am living in Israel. I'm normally based in Yafo, but I've come back about 3.5 weeks ago to spend time with my family here and be in service here. So a little bit about me and my work. So I am a breathwork teacher. I am also a student and an educator. I work in Jewish education, both in Israel and the States. I focus also on climate change and sustainability. So I teach also a course twice a week on that, along with the courses that I teach more in private, online, and in person. What I've shifted focus on, we attach my website as well in the chat, but what I've shifted focus in recently in terms of helping serve my role in what's going on right now in Israel and in everywhere else in the world is I've started creating events of healing, of meditation, of breathwork, of music across the entire US. It's called Kol Echad. So if anyone knows the word Kol, it means one, Echad. It means Kol Echad means everyone, and Kol Echad also means one voice. And so through this movement that we've been putting together with groups of about 20 to 25 people around the country, meeting in person with similar values, I believe, to what the IJS believes in. We believe that through getting together and healing in person or online, but specifically with what we're doing, hosting an event of sound healing, of meditation, of breath work, we are donating all proceeds to an organization called Natal, which is based in Israel, building a program for children and lone soldiers who need psychological care. Natal works in PTSD and trauma healing. So if it's something that you're interested in hosting or putting together an event in your community, please let me know. I can help you with all the steps along the way. We've raised over $150,000, and Natal has agreed to match all of our donations, so close to 300K. It's going to help almost 10,000 soldiers get psychological healing. So if it's something you're interested in, please let me know. And yeah, I went to NYU, graduate of NYU, been living in Israel for the past 4 years, made Aliyah. There is a file. Yeah. So with that, today is a very, very special day because we're coming off of Thanksgiving. We're coming off of a long weekend. Today is the full moon, for anyone who doesn't know, and apparently in Eastern time, the full moon actually started around an hour ago. So we're in a very beautiful moment. It's the full moon. We've had many, many hostages come back. Some of them are friends of mine and people less than 1 degree removed. So this is a beautiful healing we're having together. We are approaching Hanukkah, and today is the exact halfway mark through the month of Kislev. So if it's okay to share with you guys before the meditation, I thought I would share a bit about Kislev, about the meaning of Hanukkah. I'm sure you guys have had the opportunity to learn a little bit about it, but some beautiful things that I was taught last year in Israel, in some lessons that while I was living in Sfat, I wanted to pass over. So the idea of the month of Kislev is basically rooted in one sentence. That is one of my favorite quotes actually about Israel. And it says, "To believe in miracles in the land of Israel is to believe in reality, because here it's all a miracle." This is, for me, one of the sentences that really sums everything up. And for all of us who are in the diaspora right now, we can, attest that sometimes there's this glow or this miraculousness that happens if you've ever been to Israel, and the miraculousness that happens sometimes in our day-to-day life. And the month of Kislev is, I want you to think of it almost as like an incubator or a box or a vessel that holds the possibility of miracles to happen in an accelerated way. And so what does that mean? The month of Kislev is the beginning of the darkest period of the year. It's the beginning of winter. It's the beginning of long nights and shorter days. It's the beginning of a time of our lives when physically we go into coldness, especially if you're based in any climates that are a bit colder. I'm based in New York. And there's an expression that the darker the night, the brighter the light. And I think that as we come into Kislev and we come out of the month of Cheshvan, which is one of the only months of the Jewish year without any holidays, the concept that I want you to keep in mind, and also throughout our meditation, is transforming possibility into reality. And so what does that mean? Kislev is about turning what lives up here, which we can consider in Judaism sometimes is considered to be masculine, potential, into feminine reality, that the woman is the vessel in which life can come through. And the masculine is the idea of how that potential, that possibility that light can come into true form. And that is exactly what the holiday of Hanukkah is about, right? We were given enough oil that was supposed to last for one day. And the story we all know on the surface is that it lasted for 8. And what does this mean? What does this symbolize? What it means is that through the belief in miracles and through the belief that it can be possible, we can take an idea and turn it into reality. And I think as we go through such a hard time as a Jewish nation, as a Jewish people, and we envision what life will be like on the other side when this war finishes, what the light will feel like, what the goodness will feel like, it's building relationships as well on the outside, but really building that relationship on the inside. And so the month of Kislev, every Hebrew month has a color, every Hebrew month has a quality, every Hebrew month has a letter. And the Hebrew month of Kislev is symbolized by a samech, which, if anyone knows, is a circle. So it's sort of this idea of continuation. It's this idea that in the samech, you have one point in the middle, which we consider God. And as you get closer and closer into the center, as all of the people from around the world, if we stood in a circle, got closer to the center, we're not only connecting to God, but we're also connecting to each other and to ourselves. Also, samech is one of 2 letters in the word in Hebrew for miracle, which is nes. So it's the foundation of this month. And Kislev is also the month of fire. And so as we bring light to our vessels, as we bring light to this world, as we are the keepers of the light, as we say amongst Jewish people, I want us to consider, as we go through this meditation, the visualization of a candle. And I invite you now, as we begin what will be our meditation, which I'll gently guide you through, is to get into a comfortable position, whether it's seated, whether it's laying down. I invite you to keep your cameras on or keep your cameras off, whatever feels right. And I want you to envision right now, as we relax our bodies and we relax our hands, as we relax our inner systems, our hearts, as we start to take our first deep breaths, just to notice whatever forms are coming up for you today. To observe what you showed up with as the week opens. To observe which parts of your body may be trying to interfere. And all together, we can begin by taking our first breath in unity, in harmony, envisioning us standing in that circle with something bright at the center. Whether it's a bright light or a person that you love. Maybe it's your vision of God or your vision of light. I invite you to imagine standing hand in hand with the hundreds of beautiful souls who are joining us today, gazing towards the center. Allowing your body to process through whatever it may need. And as you gaze towards this united center, allow yourself to be overwhelmed by a feeling of love. Seeing the object in the center as something that gives you that feeling of love. Maybe it's a daughter or a father, a sister or a brother. Maybe it's your vision for how good it will feel when this period of darkness gets illuminated by the light. And taking a deep breath in through the nose, allow the vision of this white light to come in through your nose, breathing in for a few breaths for 1, 2, 3, 4, holding, breathing in a bit more, and releasing. Beginning to envision yourself as this vessel of light, as a vessel that's ready to receive that light. And beginning to imagine yourself as a candle before the candle has been lit. Bringing a self-awareness to your body. If your thoughts begin to take you away from this present moment, just gently inviting it back. Every time, coming back. And as we envision ourselves as these unlit candles, I invite you to breathe in a breath of possibility, of sacredness, of fire, of surrender. Breathing in a sense of mysticism to your whole body. We can let out whatever breath is inside us through our mouth, breathing out. And breathing back in through our nose, letting our chests, our backs straighten and fill. Fine-tuning our posture, rolling our shoulders back and down. Feeling your body full of this potential. And allowing yourself to release. Once more, paying attention to our bodies, to our structure. If our shoulders have slouched and our minds have wandered, inviting a position of deep honor back to our bodies, rolling our shoulders back. Maybe rolling our head from side to side. And beginning to invite a sense of awe. Taking a deep breath in through our nose, breathing in. And breathing out. As we see our candle awaiting the light. As our eyes are closed, I imagine yourself inviting the flame, inviting the light. Focusing on one thing that you want to honor or invite as you light your inner candle. Softening, continuing our breath. Imagining the unity of standing around this circle with one bright candle at the center. And the miracle of light that's about to take place as we all light our inner flame. Taking a deep, soft, nourishing breath in with our candle unlit still. We breathe in, imagine every part of your face receiving this air, receiving this light, breathing in through your nose, through your eyes, through your forehead, through your ears, through your jaw, through your chin, and releasing the breath. Once more, if you haven't breathed yet, this is your moment to start. We invite the breath in through our nose, up through our eyes, through our foreheads, through the back of our heads, through our ears, through our cheeks, through our jaw, breathing in a little bit more air. And release. With deep respect on this full moon, recognizing the strength and the sturdiness of our candle as it stands tall and ready to receive the light. And when you're ready, embracing the mindset of Kislev, of light within the darkness, of dreams into reality, of harmony between our inner and outer worlds. We're going to, with our eyes closed on our next breath in, invite in a breath of fire, a breath of light, a breath of flame, and breathing in on the count of 3. We're going to light our candle with a kavanah, with an intention for the rest of the day to come. Holding this kavanah in your mind, part of the world that needs your light, that needs a miracle. Breathing the last air out of your unlit candle. And together breathing in our flame 4. Feeling the light, the flame, the inception of this light together. Breathing in, holding. Taking in a bit more air. And breathing out, seeing the illumination of our candles lit together. Seeing your flame, the smell of a newly lit candle, of a recently lit match, the softness of the glow of this flame in front of you and within you. Breathing in through our nose, letting the flame dance and move as it wishes today. Maybe it's fast, maybe it's slow, but it's always moving. Feeling the flame connected to the candle, our mind, our soul connected to our body. Feeling it in your light. And when your mind wanders, bringing it back. Showing ourselves kindness and patience. Visualizing a circle of ignited candles. Continuing our breath. Coming back to our breath, always as our flame. Feeling the warmth of the flame engulfing your body. With each breath in, our soul burns brighter. And with each breath out, our body becomes calmer. Envisioning our light, our karana, we take a deep breath in together on the count of 3. Breathing in through our nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Holding and release for 4, 3, 2, 1. One more breath, feeling the light and our communal flame burning bright. Breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold and release. Bringing a bit of a wiggle to our fingers. Maybe a hand on our heart. Allowing ourselves to have one more second with our eyes still closed to treasure and cherish and honor the state that our body is in. Moment of gratitude, the essence of Judaism. The Hodot and Yehudut means thankful. In Judaism, it's the same. Thank you for breathing our bodies. May we all have a very beautiful, peaceful, hopeful week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kat, for that beautiful restorative practice. And as we seal that practice as we do each day, offering an opportunity for any of you who are in mourning or observing a yard site, or if it's your custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish, to do so. And if you're not reciting Kaddish, to kindly stay present and offer your compassionate support for those who are. You can put the name or names of those you're honoring in the chat box now or after you recite the Kaddish. And if you're joining me, please rise in body or in spirit. Thanks to Jet for sharing the words on the screen. And you can unmute at this time. Yitgadal, Dashme, Yama Dibra, Yamich Malchute, Kayeko, Yamiko, Mikayed, Kala, Karivu,
Amen. Karivu, Amen.
Heshme, Rabba, Marach, Lame, Amaya,
Me Umaya. Safra, Tabak, Mam, Faith,
Adar,
Savior,
Kata Visharata
Talan, Shapri,
Elan,
Shlamaraba Min Shamaya
Iran Ba'alma,
Israel
Iran,
Venu
Balma,
Amen
Venu, Amen.
Ishlama Rabba,
Ishlama, Rabban,
Malinu, Bialko,
Vayim, Elenu, Vimko, Israel, Vimko,
Shalom
Yoshvei,
Bimrama,
Shalom,
Shalom,
say Shalom,
Bimraku,
Vimko,
Akol
Israel,
Yisrael, Akol Yoshe Tevel, Hebrew, Amen.
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 And friends, thanks so much for joining us today to start this week of practice. Thanks to Kat. Thank you so much for beginning our week of practice so beautifully today. And thanks to Jet Bachman for holding our space, as always, with skill and grace today. And also thanks to Beryl Lynn Brodsky for sponsoring today's beautiful practice in loving memory of your grandmother, Frida Pomerantz Brodsky, on the occasion of her 37th yard site. Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be a blessing always. And as always, you're invited to stay on for a conversation with our teacher today, just to share reflections on the practice, ask questions, or if you'd like just to continue to use this time and space to sit together. And if you're leaving us now, we hope you'll join us tomorrow. Rabbi Margie Jacobs will lead us in practice tomorrow at our usual time, hosted by my colleague, Rabbi Josh Fagelson, at 12:30 Eastern tomorrow. So we hope we'll see you then, if not, then sometime soon. So if you have a question you'd like to put to Kat, please put it in the chat, and I'll try to keep an eye on that. And if it's a question, please preface it by writing question in all caps. Lots of appreciation, Kat. Thank you so much. I know that I loved the visual of this whole group in that circle, in that Samech circle, with looking towards the center together, and the idea of all these candles, basically turning this group into this beautiful Chanukia. So I wanted just to start by appreciating that so much. I want to ask you a question about the miraculous, the transformation of potential into actuality. I don't know, may not be any real answer to this, but it just came up for me as you were talking about it. so much of mindfulness practice, or mindfulness practice, is on focusing on what is true right now, right? In our bodies, in our minds, in our emotions, being hineni, being in that, being in the present, in here and now. And yet, what you were describing is sort of the potential, something that is potential, that can be realized, turned into actuality, involves, at least for me, involved thinking ahead, trying to imagine the future at the same time, which felt a little, it's not a criticism. I'm just like noticing, said, well, I can't do that. I can't go to the future. Just stay here in the now. And the answer, I'm going to answer my own question, but I want to invite you to comment on this. I was thinking, well, what's present right now is actually the seed of that potential that's present right now. Thinking about even just the lighting, the legend of lighting the menorah in the temple, when they didn't know how long it would last, right? Like we're not future tripping. Well, let's see how, will it be 7 days? Will it be 8 days? Will it be 9 days? All they know is that we have oil now, and let's light this now, right? Let's work with what we have right now in this moment. So I just wanted to, it was just kind of a little bit of a mind game that my mind was playing there. But I was wondering how do you respond to that question of staying in the present and yet entertaining the possibility of a miraculous future?
That's an amazing question. It's something I think about every single day. So thank you for asking that. Something that I read this week by a rabbi that I like, was talking about the difference between, in relation to last week's Parsha with Jacob's ladder, for anyone who was aware that was last week, and the angels. And he was talking about this concept of religion and spirituality. And he said that spirituality, in terms of what we're talking about now, is this potential, this thought, this like upper world. In the Jewish star, right, we talk about the Magen David, which is like the shape of the Magen David. It's triangle up and triangle down. That we have our spiritual realm and we have our physical realm. And that what any kind of religious act or act of service allows us to do is to bring that goodwill or that dream or that miraculous consciousness, and to bring it into this world. And that as Jews, we equally prioritize both. And that if your physical world isn't healthy and giving and illuminated, but your mental world is, or your spiritual world, or vice versa, that you're always going to feel that fraction in between you. And what I found in my like spiritual quest or journey is any time that I'm taken outside myself is the times I feel the best. And for what I feel right now, that means being in service, whether it's something like this or it's just reigniting. There's a term I learned, and it's called like the community weavers, right? The people who do the small things, even though sometimes you can make fun of them, the ones who want to offer people to plant their flowers or offer your neighbor, an extra sweatshirt that you're giving away. But to be, especially in these times, in the holiday times, when all these beautiful lights and concepts and Santa, or not Santa, Hanukkah, Harry, whoever we want to imagine, these ethereal concepts, the sparkle that we feel and really connect to is when they come into reality, when we see the sparkle happening in our day-to-day. And so for me, I think trying to do one thing a day of service that's outside myself, even if it's really small, or sending a friend a loving message, that's also an act of service, or telling my mom she did a good job once every 2 weeks, ideally more, is something that just brings the good consciousness I have in my mind, brings it out. Because for me, it's easy to get lost in the ideas and not bring them into reality. So just one thing a day.
Love that. I love that. So here's a question, and then I also want to invite you to talk a little bit more about the important work that you're doing right now. From Rana Davis, who wrote, "I was vividly reminded that light is most present in the backdrop of darkness. The question is, how do we notice the light without a journey into the dark?"
That's a good question. So there's two things I'll say. One is I've been trying for many years to do that and had the realization recently that you can't. There's a book called The Dark Side of Light Chasers, which I really like and highly recommend. And basically she talks about, we speak about right now light and darkness. And there's something that I heard last week, which I liked, which is self-awareness. And the practice we just did now is actually entering the darkness, because even just by sitting for 30 minutes, 25 minutes, and having those moments that come up in meditation of discomfort, darkness is a heavy word, but that discomfort, if we want to substitute maybe darkness for discomfort, that being in moments of discomfort and touching on the less pleasantries of life, it doesn't need to be too heavy, right? It doesn't need to be immersed in sadness like the world is tempting us to be sad right now all the time. Allowing a bit of self-awareness, allowing a bit of discomfort, and getting better at being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. That's what I say with meditation that I teach to anyone. We're not here to just relax. We're here to get better being uncomfortable. And so I think taking away maybe light or darkness, but inviting that concept of comfort and discomfort, that maybe we can use that as as a mechanism and a set of values rather than just light and darkness.
I think that's extremely helpful. Thank you for that. One more question then, I guess, actually, before I ask you to talk a little bit about what you're doing now, which has to do with, I know you do a lot of breath work, and we did some as part of this meditation today. What would you suggest for people for whom that might be, I don't know, dysregulating or problematic in any ways? What would be an adaptation or adjustment, would you say? For example, like you were inviting us to hold the breath and release the breath over time. Is that in your experience, does that work for everyone, or is it call for adaptation at times?
So I work a lot in the summer. I was working a lot with teenagers whose attention spans are very short, and they don't want to be sitting for an hour-long session with a girl telling them to breathe. And what I always invite, that meditation, I've done a bunch of vipassanas, like silent meditations. It doesn't need to be sitting down and breathing for 30 minutes or 5 minutes, but finding whatever it is, even if it's what I find is I always try to connect the mental with the physical. So if I start to breathe and I start to feel uncomfortable, focusing what part of my body is starting to get that discomfort. I'm very body oriented in my somatic, you can call it, in my practice, also for my own kind of healing. And sometimes even placing a hand on the place that's feeling uncomfortable, right? If it's starting to feel way too big, just if it's even in your head, placing both your hands on your head as if it was someone else giving you that touch. It's your mom, whether she's still here or not here, whether maybe it's a loved one who sometimes doesn't find the way to give you that loving touch, but just doing it for yourself. It's your heart that's starting to feel pain with a really deep intention, like 2 hands there, and connecting to the physical again if the breaths are starting to get a little bit uncomfortable, because your breath will respond to the status of your body. So if your body is dysregulated, your breath is going to be dysregulated as well. So I recommend just placing a hand or whatever you can just to reconnect to that physical part.
Great. So why don't we end, before we end, why don't you say a little bit more about the work, these workshops or sessions you're doing, and the work how it's relating to Israel. And I'll also put in the chat for people if I missed it the first time, the flyers for the programs that Cat is organizing and leading.
You can also feel free to just go through my website and send an email to me if you're interested in any kind of more courses or hosting. So what I've started to do specifically for Israel, I live there most of the time. For those of you who didn't hear, I have many friends who lost their lives in the festival. 2 friends who are hostages. Is this concept that I really want to build a bridge in bringing some healing in the US, because it's equally as needed. And that fundraising can go beyond just writing a check and sending it to an organization. That I think for someone who wants to give, that maybe we can find a way to truly feel that what we're doing here is actually really deeply impacting what's going on over there. So I host circles. So far, they've only been for women, but we're expanding to men, of all ages. We've hosted groups of new moms, of older moms, of grandparents. We've hosted young people, college age, to create spaces of around 20 to 30 women and men, but separate, gathering. It can be together as well. It's not for religious reasons that it's separate, with a 2-hour evening or daytime of meditation, of sound healing. I work with a bunch of different people who are trained in sound healing and meditation. I teach a bit of similar style, what I taught today, but with different topics. And the idea is that by creating these events and having ambassadors, we're creating a network of people doing the healing here. And all of the proceeds, you can choose how much you want that event to cost, right? Whether it's $100, $200, $50. And I'm working directly with an organization called Natal, that they're matching all of the donations. And through our circles of healing here, they're creating circles of healing for children, groups of children, and groups of soldiers who were the first responders. And so we're like, I called it circle giving. A circle here gives a circle there. And so it's a very tangible, bridge that we're building one to the other. And so it's really simple to host an event. I have everything listed out. I live in New York, so I'm connected here, as well as LA, Texas, Chicago, Florida. So if this is anything you're interested in and you want to host one, or you think someone who might be interested in hosting, you can either reach out through the email or through, and it doesn't cost anything to host one, by the way. You don't need to pay for it.
Well, kol hakavod, really. Thanks for this wonderful work that you're doing. Thank you so much for that. And Jet did put Kat's website. I'll just throw it in there again for people who may have missed it. Cat, thank you so much. It was really, really a beautiful practice today. It's great to have you aboard, and hopefully we'll have you again soon. And of course, praying for the release of all the hostages, including your friends. And once again, just thanks so much for being with us today. And thanks to Jed and Beryl as well. I'm sorry.
So thank you so much for having me. This was really, it's a gift to find that this community exists. So thank you so much.
Great. The door is always open to everyone. Okay. Thanks so much. Okay. We'll see you all tomorrow.